Some things that people who find reading and spelling hard sometimes hear from people.
Can't you spell that?
Don't you know that word?
Why can't you spell that? It's easy.
Geez, learn to spell, will you?
That word's easy. What's wrong with you?
My little sister can spell that word and she's in year 1.
You read slow.
Do you go to a special tutor because you're dumb?
Duh. What's wrong with your brain? Clearly nothing, because I'm Einstein. I'm Sir Richard Branson. I've got it. I'm Thomas Edison. I had it.
I'm Keira Knightley. I've got it.
I'm Delph Pilkey. I got it.
I'm Jennifer Addison. I've got it.
I'm Tom Cruise. I've got it.
I'm Steve Jobs. I had it.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe. I've got it. Facts. I'm Ingvar Kamprad. I've got it. These people also have it. This is Jessica Watson. She's an Australian sailor who was awarded the Order of Australia Medal after sailing around the world when she was 16. That makes her the youngest person to have done this. And this is Jackie French. She's a famous author, Australian Children's Laureate and 2015 Senior Australian of the Year. And she's written heaps of books. Sir Richard Branson owns the largest group of private companies in Europe, including Virgin Galactic. Yep, spaceflight, baby. He's got it. Thomas Edison invented 1,000 inventions, including the light bulb. He had it when he was alive. And Tom Cruise, his films have grossed over $4 billion. He's got it, and lots of money, like Richard. Oops, forgot to mention, Keira, Jessica and Jackie also have it. They kicked me out of school because I had trouble with spelling and reading. They said I was unteachable and stupid. I went on to be the world's best ever scientist and came up with E = mc squared. That pretty much explains how the universe works. I had it too. It's complicated. All these really amazing and talented people had something in common. They all have or had brains that work with speech sounds and letters in a slightly different way. They found learning to read, write and spell harder than most other people. Some got extra teaching and practice and were teased by people who didn't understand why.
So what was it that these people all had in common?
They all live with or live with
dyslexia. This means difficulty with.
Lex mean words.
IA makes it a noun, dyslexia.
So to understand dyslexia, let's take a look inside the human brain. It's like billions and billions of tiny electrical wires, and the way these wires are connected decides what we're good at, how we behave, how we react to different things, how our body works and all sorts of other things that make us who we are. Every time we learn something new, these tiny wires make new connections. If we get enough sleep and enough practice with what we learn, these connections get stronger. Our brain is changing every day, making brand new connections and sometimes breaking old connections that we don't need anymore.
Scientists have worked out that the connections inside the brains of people with dyslexia are a little bit different to people without dyslexia. Everything is where it should be, but the tiny wires between the parts of the brain that are in charge of talking, reading, spelling and writing are connected a little differently, and this changes the way that these parts of the brain talk with each other.
Sally and Bennett Shaywitz, two doctors, did some really cool work where they took photos of human brains while they were reading, and they discovered that the brains of people with dyslexia activate slightly different regions when they read when compared to people who don't have dyslexia. Now this doesn't mean that a person with dyslexia won't be able to have a brain that looks like a person without dyslexia. They're just going to need to do some specialist types of practice to start to make their brain activate in the same way that a non-dyslexic brain activates when it reads. So these are the parts of the brain that all should be talking together really easily when we read. Now, what scientists are starting to think is that this difference in how wires are connected in dyslexic people makes learning to read and spell pretty tough, but at the same time, they think that it might give some people with dyslexia special talents. Some people with dyslexia actually say it's their dyslexia that made them good at what they're good at and made them who they are. So here's some really important stuff to know about dyslexia. You can't catch it like you can catch a cold. Dyslexia runs in families. So you might get dyslexia from a parent or maybe even a grandparent and it skips your parent's generation. You might get it from an aunt or an uncle, and it comes down through families just like other things that are genetic, like your hair colour, your eye colour, and how tall you're going to be. You're born with dyslexia and you have it for life.
I got it.
Still got it.
Still got it.
Yep, still dyslexic, still got it. My hip hurts.
I pooed my pants.
People with dyslexia do learn to read, write and spell, but need more practice.
In any class, there might be 3 or more kids who have dyslexia.
People with dyslexia are highly intelligent. They are doctors, business people, artists, tradespeople, politicians, scientists, and even teachers.
People with dyslexia work really hard to get their work done.
Here's some other really important stuff to know about dyslexia. So where a person who doesn't have dyslexia might take 5 practices to learn to read and even maybe spell a new word, it could take a person who has dyslexia maybe 50 to 100 practices for the sounds in their brain and the letters that make up that new word to stick together and then activate what that word means. All of this happens in the brain, and for teachers in the room, if you're thinking of orthographic mapping, that's exactly what this process is. Facts. You can't be dumb and dyslexic at the same time. No, you can't.
Can't you spell because? What's wrong with your brain?
So we're about to explain to you why teasing someone about having dyslexia is as silly as saying things like,
Look, you've got a chin.
Ha, look, hands.
What's with those nose holes?
Seriously? You're gonna hassle someone about that? Really? That's dodgy. Not cool. You tease about that? Are you okay? You might need to have a good, hard look at yourself.
Here's another idea.
Just be nice.
Ask if you can help, or don't say anything thanks.
This little video on why you shouldn't tease people for having dyslexia has been brought to you by the Playberry Multisensory Literacy Program, which has just gone Tier 1 to Tier 3. And the WordCracker Morphology suite of resources.
And Maddie.
And Harvey.
And if you're into podcasts, you might want to check out Dyscastia, a podcast for parents and educators about the best way to support people living with specific learning difficulties.